So let's shift gears and talk about commodities. Of course, a bit of that is today's budget presentation by Mr. President at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Bolali Agbaje, a member of the economic think tank and a research analyst with financial derivatives, joining me live now here in the studio this morning. It's a big day as far as the budget is concerned, and I'm sure you can't miss it in the headline. It's a big elephant in the room for today, Tuesday.
Yeah, we're excited about it in the sense that, you know, we've spoken severally about executing the budget significantly. But I think now the government is trying to go back to the drawing board to properly plan, you know, for this budget, change the cycle from January to, you know, December to kind of give them a proper way to execute this, instead of the, you know, the previous system we saw where the budget is passed middle of the year, and then by the end of the year they haven't really achieved much. So it's a great thing that, you know, this budget is trying to be passed before the end of the year.
What else burning on your economic table at FDC today?
So today we have the fact that the OECD released a report. They reduced global growth to about 2.9%. Most likely as a result of the trade wars that is currently, you know, occurring now with the US and China. They've stressed the fact that this could possibly lead to a global recession. But another interesting point is the fact that they mentioned in some of these advanced economies, we're seeing low unemployment. And what that means is, you know, consumer spending is still high, households are being employed. So I think that's the reason why we're not seeing that transition yet into the recession. So it's a tricky time. But at the same time, they're advising that, you know, the US, China, they need to end this trade wars significantly because the German economy is, you know, is facing issues with the manufacturing sector.
The trade fight is not ending anytime soon.
It's not.
China just fired some shots into Europe. So the trade fight is not anywhere. Mr. President, President Trump just fired another one into China as far as the tech companies are concerned. So it's getting a little bit murky on a daily basis, and we just keep trying to wrap our heads around it. But if you come back home a bit and looking at your burning economic issues list, oil is there, external reserves also there. I'm getting a bit concerned about it.
Oil, you know, went up to about $59 per barrel yesterday. I think that was its peak, and now it's down again to about $58 per barrel. As a result, you know, they mentioned that they were going to have talks on Thursday and Friday, you know, to try and ease this tension. But I think China released a report, you know, mentioning the fact that it's not a comprehensive, you know, talk. So some of the most difficult issues, I don't think they're going to be discussing that on Thursday and Friday. And I think, you know, investors were now less optimistic about where the trade talks are actually going. And that obviously brought oil prices down.
No one is sure, because it depends on what Mr. President wants on Pennsylvania Avenue. It depends on what he sleeps with or wakes up with. So no one is really sure, not even the Chinese is sure.
He's erratic. You know, nobody really knows what he'll probably come up with in these new trade talks. He could walk out of the meetings, you know, trying to impose, you know, increase, you know, the tariffs within the...
It's looking like one of the most difficult months in the year so far for October, with the Brexit also hanging in there between now and the end of the month. Not a very good time. But let's quickly check with something that I'm sure our local viewers will be interested in, the partial border closure and what the prices of goods are looking like in the market, at least with the agro products. Where are we? Bring it on, everyone. Let's see where the price of rice, chicken, tomato, and others are right now. I need to check in quickly before I get a call.
Prices...
I'm in from home. So, do you see the number? Yes, that's the price of the bag of rice. Okay, talk me through this.
With other prices, other commodities, apart from the rice, garri, we've seen other prices actually decline due to the fact that we're in the harvest season at the moment. Rice is majorly affected by the border closure. We're seeing a price of rice, 50 kg bag of rice increased to about 24,000, which is not great, considering the fact that some people will start budgeting for the Christmas period. But other than that, the substitutes, so we don't obviously have no substitutes of rice, but the complements.
The flip of that is the beans.
Yes.
Which is more nutritious, isn't it?
It is, but I don't think people usually go to parties to eat beans. Rice is still the major staple, so it's definitely going to affect the budgets of some of these consumers. And
perhaps those of you going for weekend parties will be having a less rice on your
or
plate.
would consume less rice at
yeah, perhaps just a half a plate is what will go around.
What would be
Go
served.
around now will be served.
Yes.
So just be prepared, everyone. If you served less rice the next birthday, wedding, whatever ceremony, don't take offense with the organizers.
Yeah.
That's because of the price of rice. Or if rice is substituted for eba or abala for you, don't get offended because you can see the bold picture there on your TV screen.
Yeah, and it's typically what would happen. We do expect that in the short to medium term, we see more local producers within the economy.
That's the story out there.
That should, bring...
that looks like those who are local rice millers are ramping up on production.
And it should definitely force consumers to start consuming more locally produced rice, which I don't think should be as different, compared to the foreign.
Okay. We're here, isn't it? Then if I add chili to that, what does that look like in terms of the dry chili production?
Well, chili is a major, complement to,
to rice.
To the rice, and the major consumption we, give people at these parties. Jollof rice, chili is one major ingredient within this produce. But so chili is another investment opportunity for investors within the economy. They're looking to diversify. We are obviously not one of the top producers, but it's another, specifically dried chili. We do have the wet chili as well, which is the Scotch bonnet.
But the dry one is the one we can use mostly for exports.
But it's also the one that is affected seasonally. The fact that, you have to dry it, and most of the farmers within the economy don't use the technology. Obviously, we're not advanced like that. So we don't have the technology to properly dry them. So most farmers and preserve them.
Just spread them on the ground.
Exactly.
And all of that.
Right now, sun, we're not seeing a lot of sun.
The rains are here.
Exactly.
Just as well as you get in the studio. But thank you so much. But let me just put this question to Juliana, my colleague, Olayinka in London, our London studios. If she's coming anytime home soon to Nigeria, to expect less rice and a bit more of chili on whatever she's eating home. Juliana, good morning. I'm sure you're interested in this conversation around commodities and what the price of rice really is. You need to be prepared. Whenever you get down here, don't be surprised if I'm serving you a little bit less place of rice. The local one, I'll make sure I'll get that one for you.
Absolutely. I would say less rice, more salad, please, Bosun.
Okay, here you go. Bolanle, that's a less rice, more salad. Okay, we'll put that on our menu for you at FDC. They will be the one hosting you when you get down here to Nigeria. Thank you so much, Bolanle, from FDC. Juliana, let's continue this conversation. It looks like a London Stock Exchange is a very red hot chili for the Hong Kong Stock Exchange that made that hostile bid. That's my words. Now it has dropped the bid for the London Stock Exchange, and the FTSE is climbing on that. Bring us up to speed.
Well, the FTSE 100, it opened 20 points higher this morning. Surprisingly, yes, because, of course, the London Stock Exchange usually only in the press because of all the stocks and shares underneath it. But today it's in the press because, yes, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange have dropped their audacious bid to buy the LSE for $39 billion. A lot of traders said that the deal was dead on arrival purely because, trying to see the likes of China and London merging would have been a big political story, not just economical. But there are some that said, if the LSE chief execs weren't so pompous, perhaps the Hong Kong guys would have raised their bid by 20%. Of course, as well, one of the sticking points from those in the LSE was their £32 billion merger with Refinitiv, which is the data and analytics company. Hong Kong weren't interested in that, and they said if they were to take up the offer, they would have to drop that bid. But alas, it didn't happen, so the dream marriage is over today.
Yes. So let's quickly try to squeeze in a Brexit. What is in this tariff, trade tariff being talked about with the Brexit? What is it? You have any details for us?
Do you know what? Just before I came on air, I was listening to an analyst talking about Brexit, and they said if anybody tries to tell you exactly what's going on with this trade deal, and they do tell you, they're lying. Nobody knows what's going on, but I'll give you a little bit of details. The Department of Trade have tried to make congestion easing at the border much more simpler if indeed Britain leave on the 31st of October without a deal, which is looking increasingly likely, then they've announced this morning, 7 a.m., that on 88% of goods coming into the UK, there will be no tariffs. This is a good story. They're trying to do this to alleviate any rising inflation in the UK, and they want to monitor the economy. Of course, they've been trying to set up deals across the globe outside of the EU, and part of these deals is allowing some exports to come in for free. I know we haven't got much time, Bosun, but I must say that just before I came on air as well, Downing Street released a statement following a phone call that Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, had with Boris Johnson, and really how they summed up that phone call is that the withdrawal agreement that Boris Johnson has taken to the EU is dead on arrival. It is increasingly likely now that there will be no deal. The deal isn't done. The EU want Northern Ireland to stay in the customs union. Boris Johnson and his team say that's absolutely not going to happen. So the deadline ticks on. Michael Gove, he is the minister who is in charge of a no-deal Brexit. He'll be giving a statement to the House of Commons later today.
Okay,
so we are at an end. We're at the end game now, and
yes.
It's not looking good.
Yes, it's not looking good. But how quick will you be able to get to Pizza Express and get a pizza ready for you and I for our 1:30 show today? Try and do that very quickly and see if we can talk about Pizza Express when we meet together at 1:30. I'll try to hold on my lunch until then. Thank you, Juliana, out of London. We appreciate that. Let's talk about Nigeria's fixed income market when we come back after the break.